20 medical records clerk interview questions and answers. The best way to prepare for the interview is to practice answering some of the frequently asked questions regarding the position you have applied for. Here is our list of the top 20 medical records clerk interview questions together with sample answers. 1. Why are you interested in this role? The hiring manager asks this question to evaluate the reasons you got into this role and whether you enjoy it. The best way to answer this question is by demonstrating your interest in the job. Sample answer. I am a highly organized professional with great attention to detail. I have a lot of skills in sorting, filing, and storing medical records in their proper filing locations. Additionally, I have strong computer skills and data entry abilities that help me while inputting numbers in the systems. I am seeking this role because it will allow me to utilize my skills in this industry. 2. What are the roles of a medical records clerk? The hiring team wants to know whether you are well informed of the duties of a medical records clerk. The best strategy to answer this question is by highlighting the roles of a medical record clerk as you connect them to the job at hand. Sample answer. A medical records clerk manages patients' health history and record. The clerk is also responsible for conducting audits, processing discharge papers, gathering, and filing patient information. Other duties include relaying requests for printing to modality, sending legal requests to an external vendor, organizing laboratory, X-rays, and special reports into the medical record, managing sign-out system for all chart pulling, pre-assembling new patients' medical records and deliver to providers on time, reviewing medical records for completeness after working on every medical record, replying to telephone calls. 3. What are the qualities that a medical records clerk needs to be successful? The employer asks this question to determine whether you are aware of the tasks that await you as a medical records clerk should you be hired. Having the job posting in mind, provide some of the responsibilities of the medical records clerk. Sample answer. A great medical records clerk needs to have great organizational, communication, data entry, time management, problem solving, and interpersonal skills. He or she needs to be familiar with medical terminology as well as basic computer skills to enable him to effectively organize, scan, and access electronic health records. A good medical records clerk must be keen to details to ensure that medical data is correct and stored in the right locations and folders. 4. What major challenges did you face during your last role? How did you manage them? This question helps your interviewer to know whether you have abilities to handle challenges. As you respond to this question, demonstrate your problem-solving techniques. Explain a situation that you regard as a major challenge in your previous role and how you overcame it. Sample answer. The biggest challenge I encountered during my previous role was the language barrier. Most patients had a tendency of speaking in their local language which I couldn't understand well. It was difficult to serve them well since I couldn't understand them perfectly. However, my colleague was from that particular place and she spoke in that language. So whenever I had a client who couldn't understand native English, that colleague would translate to me about what the client want. Fortunately, after 2 years, I had learned that local language and I would understand as clients spoke to me. 5. Describe your daily routine as a medical records clerk. The response you provide for this question indicates your ability to prioritize and organize work. The best strategy to answer this question is by portraying your organizational and time management skills as you match them with the needs of your potential employer. Sample answer. As a medical record clerk, I spend my routine day as follows. Filing patients' papers and reports. Collecting information and documents from patients as well as preparing patient charts. Processing records regarding patients' admissions and discharge. Preparing invoices. Making sure that health records are accurate, organized, and complete. Generating digital copies of paperwork as well as keeping the records electronically. Moving information into the hospital's main system database. Protecting patients' records as well as making sure that they comply with the HIPAA standards. 6. Describe briefly about your experience. The answer you give to this question helps your employer to know whether your past experiences match with their needs. The best way to answer this question is to summarize your work history as you connect to the job at hand. Sample answer. I have been a medical record clerk for 3 years now. During this time, I have gained a lot of skills in managing patients' health history and records, conducting audits, processing discharge papers, gathering, and filing patient information. I have also been able to learn the digitalized techniques of keeping records. Given a chance, therefore, I will electronically store patients' records in your data system as I ensure that the information therein is protected and remains confidential. 7. What kind of strategies and mindset is required for this role? The hiring team asks this question to evaluate your passion and attitude towards this role. In your response, highlight some of the strategies and mindsets you will use in performing this role. Sample answer. A medical record clerk handles patients' files as well as ensuring their information is confidential. Therefore, a medical clerk needs to have an understanding of the facility's policies and procedures to be able to keep accurate records. Another strategy a medical record clerk requires to efficiently perform this role is to adhere to the laws and regulations governing the issuing of medical files to the allotted agencies and patients. A medical record clerk needs to maintain a calm disposition as well as a helpful attitude when interacting with patients. 8. What is the biggest challenge that you foresee in this job? The interviewer asks this question to gauge whether you are aware of the latest developments in this field. In your response, demonstrate that you are well aware of what is taking place in this field and highlight your ability to deal with potential challenges. Sample answer. The insufficient expertise in this field is the major challenge that I can foresee. Technology is evolving, changing the way things were done in the past. There is a need to update the skills to work efficiently using the latest technology. The medical records clerk who lacks the modern skills ends up causing duplicate entries in record keeping, which can result in difficulties while retrieving data. I am on top of the game since I have trained on a majority of the latest techniques of keeping data, including using the EMR systems. 9. How do you stay motivated in your work? Your response to this question portrays your values and interests as far as this position is concerned. In your response, demonstrate the values that help you to remain motivated. Sample answer. This job is a motivation in itself. I am passionate about caring for patients, and this makes me love being a medical records clerk. I find pleasure in helping patients fill out the paperwork during their visit to the facility. I am always dedicated to storing accurate information when processing those forms. 10. Describe a time when you failed in this role and the lesson you learned. The interviewer wants to evaluate whether you can admit your mistakes. As you answer this question, own your mistakes to your actions and pick a few lessons you learned from the situation. Sample answer. When I was new in this career, I always found myself duplicating data. I could receive a lot of data from different sources regarding the same patient. Some of the data was new while others were existing in the systems. I would get a lot of problems retrieving data, especially through electronic searches. When I realized that this was a big issue, I sought help from my college, who taught me how to use software that automatically eliminated any redundancy. This helped me to avoid duplication of data. For that time going forward, I always ensure that I have combined pertinent information from all avenues as well as removing any redundancy. 11. Why do you feel you are the most suited for this role? The employer asks this question to know more about your skills. In your response to this question, highlight your best skills, traits, education, experience, and relevant accomplishments. Sample answer. I'm a highly organized and motivated professional with great attention to detail and ability to multitask. I can work individually and as a team with minimal supervision. I have been working in this field for 3 years now. Being a high school graduate and tech-savvy, I can work in a fast-paced environment. I am well familiar with the laws and regulations governing the issuing of medical files to the allotted agencies and patients. 12. Share with us your greatest achievement. The hiring team asks this question to know what you regard as success. This question allows you to brag about yourself and share what you're truly proud of professionally. Sample answer. My greatest achievement took place in my previous role as a medical record clerk. When I got employed there, I managed to electronically shift the patient's records to EMR without losing or duplicating patients' information. Having trained my coworkers on how to use the advanced technologies, working in this field has been very effective since we provide very accurate data. 13. What process would you go through if a patient requests the release of their medical records? The employer may ask you this question to gain your understanding of the process of releasing patients' medical reports. The best strategy of responding to this question is by explaining your experience with the procedures of releasing medical records. Sample answer. In my previous role as a medical record clerk, I have gained a lot of experience in assisting patients to get their medical records. However, the release of the medical record will depend on the system being used in a facility. For instance, the EMR system allows patients to gain access to their medical records in person or online. A patient fills out their identification information on an official form to verify their request. 14. Explain the experience you have with maintaining accurate health records. The employer asks this question to evaluate your understanding of the importance of data accuracy. In your response, talk about your techniques for managing data correctly. Sample answer: I truly believe that accuracy is very important in maintaining medical records. To ensure accuracy, I always double-check my work as well as updating the information in the data management system. I have a tendency of comparing external data to valid sources, proofreading to ensure data accuracy, and finally comparing the data to internal data. 15. Having in mind that you will be working directly with patients, what do you consider as key principles of professionalism to follow when interacting with patients? If an employer asks this question, he or she is likely to find out how you would perform professionalism in your role should you be hired. In your response, describe the qualities that define professionalism. Additionally, include how the qualities you provided relates to patient care. Sample answer: As a medical record clerk, I believe that it is essential to treat patients respectfully. I actively and carefully listen to what patients say to ensure that they feel heard. In my opinion, this is an important aspect while interacting with patients. Then, I try my best to offer them help as per the guidelines set by the facility. 16. In your previous role, what health information software programs have you worked with? This is a common question asked by many interviewers to gain an understanding of your technical skills. To respond to this question, outline your experience with some of the systems you have worked with. Sample answer: I have had experience working with a variety of health information software programs such as those with patient scheduling tools, intuitive data checks, significant use in reporting, and other features. Mostly, I have been using HER software in updating, correcting, and creating information. I am a quick learner and I believe that I will adapt to the system that your facility is using to maintain medical records. 17. As a medical records clerk, how do you plan to minimize errors? This is a technical question commonly asked by employers to get an understanding of your strategies in minimizing errors. In your response, highlight the efforts you will put in to minimize errors in your work. Sample answer: I believe that understanding how to correctly complete tasks and the impacts those tasks have on patients is key in the role of a health clerk. I have received extensive training on how to use electronic health record software. This has helped me to create accurate records and fulfill my role effectively without any faults associated with inappropriately documented health records. 18. Have you worked directly with patients before? The interviewer will ask this question to assess your interpersonal skills. To respond to this question, demonstrate your ability to interact with patients well and professionally. Sample answer: Yes, I have interacted directly with patients during check-in and intake. In my previous role as a receptionist at a medical center, I keenly listened to patients and tried to offer help while observing the policies of the hospital where I was working. 19. How do you handle the duplication of patient data? The employer asks this question to evaluate your knowledge of what duplication of data entails. As you respond to this question, demonstrate your understanding of what duplicates are and their consequences in data recording. Sample answer: I understand that duplication is a big issue with health records, making retrievals miss critical medical facts if cubbed by conflicting entries. Having this in mind, I use software that automatically checks for any duplicated data. I also ensure to double-check all entries to ascertain that there is redundancy missed by the software. 20. As a medical record clerk, you will be handling personal and confidential patient information. What is your previous experience handling confidential information? This question is asked by your potential employer to evaluate your knowledge in this field. In your answer, demonstrate that you know the importance of protecting the patient's information. Sample answer: Previously, I have worked as a receptionist in a medical facility. I was tasked with maintaining the facility patients list and profiles. My employer expected me to keep the records of the patients secure and confidential in a locked cabinet when I wasn't using them. During my 3 years working there, I did not lose any record, or even putting information at risk of being assessed by other staff. Conclusion: use these questions and answers to prepare adequately for your next interview. You simply need to demonstrate to the interviewer that you have relevant knowledge and skills by answering every question correctly.